You're watching France 24. Hello and welcome to the business interview. I'm Markus Karlsson. Is France an investor-friendly country? That question has come into the spotlight after a French minister told a newspaper the world's biggest steelmaker, ArcelorMittal, was no longer welcome in France. The story followed a warning in The Economist newspaper that France and the French economy is a ticking time bomb. For more on what the potential fallout is, we can turn to Gérard Duchilol. He's a former banker. He's currently at the think tank Thomas More Institute, and he's also the writer of a book in French called La crise enfin. That roughly translates into the crisis finally. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It was the French Minister of Industrial Renewal, Arnaud Montebourg, who said that ArcelorMittal was no longer welcome in France. You have called him and that statement a provocateur, and you say that he is basically bad news for foreign investment in France. Why is that?
Because what he did is basically a shame, and more than a shame, it is stupid. Why is it a shame? Because it was uselessly provocating and insulting people, whoever they are. It's meaningless. You don't make any progress. And it is strange, to see that in a country that is fairly keen on criticizing Americans, to have somebody from the government that is behaving like a cowboys of the Wild West. Hey guys, we don't want any more of you. You are not welcome in town. But what is more important is that it is actually stupid. Why is it actually stupid? Because what he proposed is nearly undoable, and because it puts foreign investment at risk. Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the government's threat to nationalize the site of Florange in the east of France.
Exactly, yeah. And the threat to nationalize, it's meaningless because it's nearly undoable, and it puts the French government in some sort of a corner. Why is it undoable? It is undoable from different points. First, on a legal point of view, it's not that self-evident that the French Constitution allow a buy and sell back right after. It is what we call a temporary nationalization. Mm-hmm. It's a trading business. And should government act as the traders in corporations? That's not absolutely certain that either the French Constitutional Court and even Brussels authorize it.
We have seen other countries, though, nationalize companies. The United States, for instance, at the height of the financial crisis, nationalized General Motors. We saw a similar thing in the United Kingdom when the UK government nationalized Northern Rock. Arnaud Montebourg, he has defended himself and his statement saying that indeed, other countries have done it, so why can't we? What do you say about that?
Because when the American nationalized General Motors, it was to restructure totally the firm. They closed a lot of plants and factories. They renegotiated the pension schemes of the workers and GM employees, and they reduced substantially the cost of constructing the car. They changed the models. They cancelled a lot of trademarks. And this is to do a real restructuring business to help GM to come back in the market. Here, it is not at all the case. The case is just to protect employments, and it is just to do exactly the opposite thing.
But from the French government perspective, it says there is a business case here because ArcelorMittal wants to close down 2 steel furnaces, whereas the French government is actually saying that the entire site of Florange can be profitable in the longer term. What do you think of that argument?
What do I think is that first there is, from the pre-crisis peak, the consumption of steel in Europe has decreased by 25%. Overall sales of Mittal over the first 9 months of 2012 have decreased by nearly 10%. Operating profit from Mittal has decreased by 63%. Mittal, in this kind of product, has lost over the last 12 months in the range of 1 billion euro. So maybe we are extremely smart, but I don't really understand how we could be profitable when Mittal, which is a huge power, cannot do it and is not profitable on this site. So that's the major point. And the problem is who will manage this company? You know, the big problem is that we are willing to buy a site, a plant, but a plant is not a standalone business. You need all the logistics. You need you need sales services, purchase services, R&D, organization. So how are you going to rebuild all this infrastructure around the plant? So that means that either you buy a substantially bigger part of Mittal, which has been studied, if I understood well, and then you create a much bigger problem with Mittal. The idea was to nationalize all the plants of Mittal in France, which represent 20,000 persons. So does the French government willing to manage all that? Or the other possibility is to flip the deal right after to an investor. But the problem is, as of now, we have so-called letter of intent. We don't know anything about this letter of intent. And the interesting thing also is that there is a data room that has been prepared and nobody asked to get into the data room to have this information. That means that we are at very, very preliminary discussions. And you can imagine that if let's assume you have nationalized, you have the French government and you are negotiating with someone in front of you, and these people in front of you know that you cannot manage the entity alone unless nationalizing a much bigger part. And so they know that you are under huge pressure to sell it very quickly.
Okay, so the French government could be facing a pretty bad deal, basically.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the wider issue here. Do you think that France's image in the eyes of international investors will be hurt as a result? Is there that kind of fallout here?
It's difficult to imagine that when you are insulting people, you are insulting entrepreneurs that have 20,000 people in your country, and when you are threatening the right of property, which is the basic right in our political and economic system, so it's difficult the way that people around the world think this kind of thing is very interesting and you're willing to invest in France.
But do you think that investors keep that in mind, though? Aren't they looking at the figures? Aren't they making cold, hard business decisions? At the end of the day, they don't really care so much about whether or not the government at one point or another has insulted another potential investor.
You have also another issue is that we are heavily taxing capital gains and we are heavily taxing high incomes. So it's more and more difficult now for French top-level company to attract top-level management. Even these people don't want to come in France now. So if you're a foreign investor, you want to invest in France and you know you won't have the right people, that's not a good thing. But that's a bit aside of our matter.
But France, though, is among the top countries here in Europe when it comes to attracting foreign investment. Doesn't that tell a different story?
We were the second one, now we are the third one, and Germany overtook France. One interesting thing, too, is to realize that from 2000, over the last years, the number of employment created by so-called FDI, foreign direct investment, decreased by 13%. And you see now about 50%, 55% of potential investors consider Germany as the top rank to invest in Europe, when now it's just 25% for France. So we are still at a very high rank, but for how long? And which is interesting also is to see that emerging countries, China, India, Brazil, now are investing three times more in Germany than in France. So the countries that will be the big cash suppliers over the next decades are now in Germany. and not in France. So this is a trend, and we are in a trend that is not in our favor, and that's the reason why it's so critical not to deteriorate the French image. And if I may say so, there was a very interesting comment from the Indian Times, I guess, which says the France sent the wrong message at the wrong moment. Why did they say that? Because we are currently in a negotiation to sell 126 Rafale aircraft to India. The contracts represent $10 billion US. And the India Times said at the wrong moment.
Gérard Dussilol, unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of this show. Thank you for watching. Don't forget you can get in touch via my Twitter handle. You see it there at the bottom of your screen, Markus F24. Do stay with us for more news here on France 24.